Have you ever felt like you were losing control? Losing control is not uncommon. It's when you're sitting still, but inside your mind a storm is brewing. A word that makes you angry, a silence that makes you doubt, or a small failure is enough to make you feel like you're slipping away. In times like this, you're no longer yourself. You say things you shouldn't say. You do things you regret a few minutes later. And the scariest thing of all is that you know you're losing control. But you can't stop. Everyone has been there, no matter who you are, what you do, where you live. Emotions are inevitable. But here's the truth. It's not about having emotions. It's about how you react to them. You may not be able to control the sudden burst of anger, or the anxiety that creeps in at night, but you can decide what to do with it. Will you stay silent or explode? Will you let your emotions overwhelm you? Or will you stand still in the storm and see things clearly? We live in a world where reaction time seems to be more important than mindfulness. Social media, text messages, the constant barrage of attacks from behind our screens, all of it makes us react too quickly and too quickly. But the truth is, power doesn't come from reacting quickly. Power comes from being in control, even when everything around us is chaotic. I remember one time, in a very important meeting, I was criticized bluntly by a colleague in front of everyone. I felt insulted. My blood rushed. My heart pounded. Every cell in my body urged me to react immediately, to protect myself, to save face. But with the rare remaining sense of awareness, I just kept quiet. I took a deep breath, looked at them, and said nothing. Then I left the meeting room. The next day, that person came to apologize to me. They said they had a bad day, and that, in fact, I wasn't the one they were really angry with. I'm not telling you this to sound strong. I'm telling you this to let you know that we always have a choice. Every time you feel like you're losing control, you can choose to keep quiet, choose to retreat, choose to breathe instead of talk, choose to reflect instead of react. And those choices are what create inner freedom. The question is, are you prepared for those options? Because when you're in the middle of an emotion, you can't think straight to figure out how to get out. You need something prepared in advance, like an emergency kit. Just like in a house fire, you can't just go looking for the fire extinguisher in a panic. You need to know where it is, and be ready to use it. The same goes for managing your emotions. You need to have rules, reminders, self-talk, so that in the moment when you're about to lose yourself, you can grab onto them and get back on track. So in this video, I'm going to share with you 20 powerful and practical tips for those moments when you feel like you're getting carried away. Losing your cool, losing your patience, losing faith in yourself. These tips are not just theories. They are the crystallization of personal experience, Stoic philosophy, modern psychology lessons, and the times I lost control and learned to stand up for myself. Each piece of advice is like a small fulcrum, so you don't drift away in the flow of emotions. You can't stop the waves of emotion from coming, but you can learn to ride them instead of being overwhelmed. And if you're feeling down today, stay with me, because I believe that if just a few of these 20 tips resonate with you, you'll be able to turn your situation around, not by forcing yourself to be strong, but by understanding and taking control of yourself. Ready? Your journey to self-mastery starts here. in the very moments when you feel most out of control. Here's something very few of us are taught as children. You are not your emotions. Anger does not define you. Anxiety does not control you. Sadness is not who you are. But if we don't learn to turn inward, we can easily get swept away, not because our emotions are too strong, but because we react too quickly. If you've ever said something in anger and then regretted it, if you've ever made a decision out of fear and then wondered, what did I just do? You're not alone. Our minds are like an ocean. When they're calm, they're clear. But when they're rough, they're blind. And the first thing you need to learn is not to react immediately. When emotions flare up, the first thing your brain wants to do is respond. React, argue, vent. It's survival instinct. But try stopping for 5 to 10 seconds. Just that. In those 5 seconds, you can save a relationship, keep a clear decision, and sometimes save your own image. Imagine you're in an argument. Someone says something that makes you angry. Instead of fighting back, you stay quiet. Count 5 seconds slowly in your head. And strangely, after 5 seconds, the emotion is no longer as strong as it was at first. The anger is still there. But you are no longer controlled by it. You've just won a silent, but very big, battle. One of the most effective ways to calm the storm inside is to breathe. It may sound simple, even boring, but in fact, breathing is the bridge between the body and the mind. When you breathe quickly and sharply, your brain thinks you are in danger. But when you breathe deeply and slowly, you send a signal that says, it's okay, everything is fine. A few rounds of deep breathing and slow breathing are a way to return to the role of observer, instead of victim of your emotions. And then, you do the next thing. Name your emotion. It sounds weird, but when you say in your head, I'm angry, I'm scared, or I'm frustrated, you create distance. Instead of being caught up in the emotion, you're looking at it from the outside. It's like watching a movie, instead of being trapped in it. And with distance, you have freedom. Freedom to choose how to respond. Freedom to think more clearly. One of the things I often remind myself when emotions arise is, emotions are just guests. I am the keeper of the house. What does that mean? It means that anxiety, anger, or hurt do not define me. They just come and go. And it is my job to not let them destroy the house inside me. Try to imagine each emotion as a guest knocking at your door. Some guests are kind, some are unpleasant, but you have the power not to let guests rule your home. You can welcome them, observe them, and then send them away. No extreme reactions, no forcing, no resistance. Simply acknowledge and let go. And finally, here's a very simple yet incredibly powerful question to ask yourself whenever you find yourself stressed or about to explode. Am I in control or being controlled? This question is like a mirror. It helps you look at yourself. If you're about to yell, criticize, walk away, or do something rash, you're probably in the passenger seat, not the driver's seat. And the moment you ask that question, you're back in the driver's seat of your life. In truth, none of us can control the world completely. But we can always control ourselves. If we know how to turn inward and master our minds first. And if you are looking for a place to start, the 5 simple things I just shared are the one solid starting point. Because you can't choose whether or not emotions come. But you can always choose what to do when they come. Here's a painful truth that needs to be faced. Sometimes, the ones who hurt us are ourselves. Not because we mean to, but because we can't control our actions when emotions arise. When we're angry, anxious, frustrated, we tend to say harsh words, act impulsively, or make bad decisions, and then blame ourselves in silence. So, emotional control isn't just about thinking, it's about specific behaviors. And to keep ourselves from sabotaging what we hold dear, sometimes the bravest thing we can do is to do nothing. We start with the first and most powerful one: silence. When you're angry, the easiest thing to do is to snap back, to counterattack, to pour out everything you're thinking, or rather, feeling. But the truth is, angry words aren't truth. They're hurt in disguise. You say them to defend yourself, to hurt back, to prove something. But in the end, all you're left with is regret. Because you can't take back what you said. Silence does not mean weakness. On the contrary, silence is strength. It means you do not add fuel to the fire. It means you give both sides a chance to cool down. And sometimes, it is that silence that saves a relationship that is on the brink. But if the emotions are still too strong, don't try to suppress them. Do the second thing. Remove yourself from the situation. This isn't about running away. This is about protecting yourself and others. When you feel yourself about to explode, get up. Go outside. Wash your face. Take a walk. Drive around. Give yourself 10 minutes, an hour, or even a day to come back when you're calmer. It's like walking away from a fire, not to leave it, but to avoid burning with it. I've done this myself many times. In the middle of a heated argument with a loved one, I stood up and said, "I need a few hours to think before I continue." When we came back, we weren't two people on the defensive. We were two people trying to understand each other. That's a huge difference. So if you can't speak and aren't ready to talk, do the third thing. Write it down instead of shouting it out. Emotions need to be released, but you don't have to take them out on others. Journaling, typing on your phone, or making voice notes are all ways to get your feelings out without consequences. You can write down your anger, frustration, hurt, but the only person who can read it is you. And when you're done, you'll be surprised at how much lighter you feel. Next, try a simple but incredibly effective psychological trick. Repeat a mental anchor phrase. Everyone should have a personal mantra, an emergency mantra, for when things get rough. For example, I don't let my emotions make decisions for me. Or, today's silence is tomorrow's calm. Repeating this mantra in your head like a mantra will help you stay on top of your emotions. Stick it on your phone screen. Write it on a piece of paper and stick it on your mirror. Make it a guide for when your mind is in turmoil. Because like an anchor in a stormy sea, these quotes keep your inner ship from capsizing. And finally, a way that goes against your instincts but is extremely effective: act against your emotions. Want to scream? Close your mouth and take a deep breath. Feel like giving up? Get up and walk for 10 minutes. Want to criticize someone? Write it down but don't send it. This is a technique psychologists call contrasting behavior, when you do the opposite of your impulsive response. You are exercising your mind, And that is true control. Because anyone can react instinctively. But only a person with inner strength can choose to react by choice. You don't have to do it all today. But if you start with just one thing, being quiet instead of shouting, writing instead of getting angry, retreating instead of acting out, you'll make a difference. Behavior is where emotions become actions. And if you don't control your behavior, emotions, even invisible ones, will destroy what you've built over your entire life. Sometimes it's not the emotion that wears us down, it's the internal struggle that follows. You know that feeling? After a heated outburst, after a careless remark, you lie awake beating yourself up. Why did you say that? Why did you react that way? And then you conclude, I'm a bad person. But you know, what you need at that moment is not judgment, but a dialogue with yourself, gently and honestly. Because if you do not heal from within, you will keep repeating the same old reactions in new situations. And inner dialogue starts with the right question. Let's start with something simple yet profound. Why did I react so strongly? You may think you're just angry because someone said something insensitive. But dig deeper. Does that feeling feel familiar? Maybe it's stirring up an old wound in you. A wound of being overlooked, of being ignored, of not being heard. And today's anger is just a mirror reflecting that pain that hasn't been healed. I once had a friend who would get angry when interrupted. Even the slightest interruption would cause him to lose control. After talking for a while, he realized his childhood was spent being interrupted by his parents every time he said something. No one really listened, and as an adult, every time he was interrupted, he felt invisible, asking, am I really angry about this? Or is it an old story being triggered? Can help you break the unconscious loop. You stop reacting blindly and start understanding yourself better, and that is the foundation of freedom. Then, try asking yourself something that seems simple, but has the power to shrink the emotions that are swelling inside you. Will this still matter in 5 years? An unanswered email, a cold look, a passing criticism. Will it still bother you in 5 years? If not, why let it steal your peace today? Imagine. You are standing in front of a convex mirror. Everything is magnified. A small comment becomes an attack. But when you ask the right question, you are no longer looking through the mirror. You are looking with your inner wisdom. And everything starts to become lighter. Next, observe how you talk to yourself. Have you ever noticed? If you say to a close friend, "You're such an idiot, why did you screw up?" they will leave you. But you say the same thing to yourself every day. "I'm useless. I'm so weak." These words are like little needles. They don't hurt right away, but over time, they wear you down. Try changing it up. Instead of, "I'm terrible," say, "Today was tough, but I'm trying." Instead of, "Why am I so weak?" say, "This feeling is heavy, but I am not alone." Talk to yourself like a friend. You will find your inner self supported, rather than abandoned. And if you still find yourself easily overreacting to others, stop and ask, "My reaction, what is it saying about me?" This isn't blaming. This is reflection. When you feel jealous, it may be that you lack confidence. When you feel angry, it may be that your values are being challenged. When you feel hurt by silence, it may be that you haven't learned how to set boundaries. Asking these questions doesn't make you weak, it helps you grow. And finally, if you're feeling a heavy emotion, don't try to push it away. Sit with it, no judgment, no labeling it as bad or weak. Emotions are like clouds. If you try to push them away, they will grow thicker. But if you sit still, observe, accept, they will pass naturally. We don't need to get better by hiding our emotions. We just need to understand them, talk to them, and then learn to move through them with grace. Because at the end of the day, true strength doesn't come from being okay. Strength comes from loving yourself, even when you're not okay. Here's something few people tell you. Emotions, no matter how negative, are not your enemies. Anger, anxiety, frustration, hurt, they are all signals. The question is whether you use those signals to destroy or to build. Do you run from them? Or do you turn them into wisdom? Emotions are not to be repressed. They are to be transformed. Let's start with anger, one of the most explosive emotions. Most people are afraid of anger. Or, conversely, are drawn to it. But guess what? Anger is incredibly valuable data. It tells you that something important is being violated. Your values, your boundaries, your truth, or your sense of justice. Instead of letting anger flare up and burn everything down, ask yourself, what am I really angry about? What is important to me here? I once felt angry when someone belittled me in a meeting. But then I realized, what made me angry was not just the slight, but the fact that I valued respect and professionalism. And that anger, when viewed properly, showed me a core value that I needed to defend. Next comes a feeling familiar to many, panic. When things get out of hand, your brain starts to play out all sorts of worst-case scenarios. But here's the truth. Panicking doesn't help you solve the problem, it just paralyzes you. So instead of sitting there with a bunch of what-ifs, ask, what is the smallest thing I can do right now? Wash your face, take a deep breath, write down a plan, clear a corner of your desk, call someone you trust. Small actions will pull you out of your paralysis. And one step at a time, turn your anxiety into motivation. Now comes a familiar, simmering emotion. Disappointment. You put your hopes up for someone, and they let you down. You put in a lot of effort, but the results don't come out as expected. Instead of falling into the "I failed" mindset, ask yourself, what did I expect, and what was not met? This question not only helps you see reality, but also helps you adjust your expectations, strategies, and communication. Disappointment doesn't mean you're wrong. It's just a sign that you're going in the wrong direction, or not far enough. What about the damage, betrayal, humiliation, deception? These experiences cut deep into your heart. But those very times of hurt are opportunities to build your inner self-esteem. I was lied to by the person I trusted the most. At that time, I felt like my world was falling apart. But then I realized, this is the time to rebuild boundaries. Learn to trust yourself before trusting others. And decide who is worthy of being in your life. Every time you go through a wound, you don't become cold, you become wiser and stronger. And finally, the most important message, turn your reaction into a choice. Emotions will come, that's natural, but you don't have to react. You can stop, observe, and choose to respond consciously. No one expects you to be an emotionless robot. But if you let your emotions drive you, you are ceding the steering wheel of your life to something temporary. Emotions are like the weather, they change. But your decisions shape your reality. You can be angry, but choose not to yell. You may be afraid, but choose to act. You may be disappointed, but choose to learn from it. You may get hurt, but choose to move on. And in each of those choices, you're practicing emotional intelligence, something that school doesn't teach. But life always tests. Emotions are fuel, but you can choose to use them to burn, or to illuminate. Maybe after reading all this advice, you're wondering, can I control my emotions better? Can I be in control of myself in the midst of chaos? And the answer is yes, but not by forcing myself to become emotionless, but by learning to understand myself. You see, every time you lose control, it doesn't mean you've failed. It doesn't mean you're weak or not good enough. It's simply a training session, an internal test that you haven't passed yet, not forever. We are often too hard on ourselves. When we overreact, when we get angry, when we do something without thinking, we immediately blame ourselves. Why did I do that? But you know what? Every emotion, every reaction carries a message, and only when you listen to it can you truly grow from it. All of the previous advice, from breathing, naming emotions, being quiet, writing, to having an internal dialogue, is not intended to make you perfect, but to help you transform each moment of losing control into an opportunity to understand yourself more deeply. Self-mastery is not about suppressing all negative emotions. Self-mastery is about recognizing that you are angry, but not letting your anger control you. It is about feeling insecure, but still choosing to move forward. It is about feeling hurt, but not letting it turn you into a bitter person. A person who is in control of his emotions is not someone who never gets angry, never worries, never gets frustrated. He simply knows how to move through those emotions without losing himself. You can think of emotions as waves. Sometimes they are gentle, sometimes they are fierce, and the important thing is, you are not the wave. You are the observer, the one who rides it, the one who knows when to let it go and when to stand still. I once heard a very good saying: peace is not the absence of waves, but knowing how to keep the boat steady in the midst of the waves. Each of us has our own battles. Some struggle with the past. Some struggle with the pressures of the present. Some are uncertain about the future. But wherever you are on that journey, remember, true power is not in controlling everything on the outside, but in not letting things on the outside control you from within. Let each loss of control be a time for you to reflect on yourself. Let each emotional outburst be an opportunity to practice your resilience. Let each piece of advice be more than a firefighting tip, but a foundation for emotional intelligence that you will build for the rest of your life. And the next time your emotions come rushing in like a tidal wave, when you feel yourself starting to lose control, stop, place your hand on your heart, close your eyes, and remind yourself of one thing: I am not the wave. I am the one watching it. Because as long as you have the ability to observe, you have the power to choose. And it is choice, not instinct, that makes you who you are. So, if you are trying, struggling, practicing every day to master yourself, then know that you are on the right track. There is no road to peace without storms. And the more you go, the more you will realize the greatest strength is knowing yourself. If this video touches you, if there is a moment that makes you stop and think, that is the first step of inner transformation. Leave a comment below, share your feelings, questions, or simply say, I'm on my journey to mastering myself. Because who knows? Someone might need to read that very line to feel like they're not alone. And if you find this content useful, don't hesitate to like, share with your loved ones, and subscribe to the channel to continue exploring the journey of understanding yourself, instead of just forcing yourself to be strong. Because you don't have to be perfect to start. You just have to start from within.